define a few terms that came up in a relatively recent conversation, or two that continue on a video. And if you follow me, you'll probably figure out which conversations I'm referring to. But I'm not going to mention them because I don't feel it's necessary. And a few of the terms that came up were being misused and turned into straw men. And ultimately, what I'm discussing here, other than the definitions, of course, is a better way to solve problems. So one of the first terms is Misotheism. So Misotheism comes from a Greek root. Essentially, it means hatred of the gods. Now, it refers to two people that can kind of be clumped together. I guess it could technically be three classes. One is somebody that hates the gods. Yeah, so it's defined as a hatred of the gods. Another one is cutting off the gods' food supply. The implication there is that the gods need us to survive, so they thrive off of our worship. In Hinduism, it's considered soma. In Greek, it's the nectar and ambrosia. In the Norse, Idun's apples. And supposedly that's connected to worship. There's nothing in the lore that I'm aware of that says that Idun's apples are human worship. I don't think the gods need our worship. I think that's a bit of UPG. The thing with Misotheism is it tends to be scapegoated. It tends to be straw man scapegoated. Strawgoated. Ooh, there's a good term. Strawgoat. It's what a lot of theists call atheists. When the literal definition of an atheist, second term, is somebody that just doesn't believe in a god or gods. So no, belief in no gods. Simplest terms, this is a person that just doesn't believe in any deities. That's all an atheist is. It's not somebody that wholeheartedly believes in science. It literally just means somebody that doesn't believe in God. In order to be a mesotheist, you have to have a belief in God or gods. An atheist doesn't hate a god or gods because they do not believe in them. Usually atheists take more offense with the actions of religious people, not a deity that they literally don't believe in. You can't hate nothingness. Well, I mean, I guess you could technically hate nothingness, but it's not a hatred of that, right? It's not a hatred of the thing that you do not believe in because you don't believe in it. So in these conversations, that's what kept coming up. And then a term that kept getting thrown my way, Archetypalism, which is not really a term. Somebody just threw ism at the end of archetypal, is simply a psychological perspective of deities. It doesn't denote whether you believe in them or not believe in them. Jordan Peterson, for example, sees Jesus as one massive archetype, which isn't how that works. But that doesn't mean he does or doesn't believe in Jesus. He's actually got like his own thing going on that I don't fully understand. But yeah, it in no way means that he's an atheist or a mesotheist. Same thing with me. I believe in archetypes, which I'm going to fully define in a future video as soon as my office stuff comes together. I've ordered a couple things, finally have a desk. So that video's coming, I promise. I just don't know how soon. Hopefully soon. And there's really a million ways to see the gods. There's a million ways to define them. And then I, as somebody who sees the gods as the human brain trying to define something that it does not understand, when I go to bloat and hail the gods, you know, the meat horn, right? I am giving worth to the gods. So I am in no way, shape, or form a mesotheist. I'm honoring the gods. So if they do thrive on that soma, that ambrosia, if worship does make Idun's apples ripen, then I'm not hurting them. I also don't view the gods as, and I'll go over this deeper in my archetype video, but I don't see them as needing me, and I don't see me necessarily needing them. I'll kind of go over the symbiosis of that relationship again in the archetype video. So I am in no way a hater of gods. I am in no way somebody that cuts off their food supply. Like I said, I don't believe that the gods actually require our worship. I think if they did, then they probably would have either perished or became really emaciated, if they are in any literal shape or form, during the interim between when paganism almost completely died out. It did still exist on the fringes and in lore and whatnot, but I don't think it's It's a bit of a spoiler alert, but I don't think it's Neil Gaiman's American Gods. I don't think it's like a food source like they required. And that comes into hard polytheism, or what I had dubbed in those conversations, literalism, which is a literal belief in the gods. You believe that they are literal in some way, shape, or form. Obviously, there are various degrees of that. That could mean you legitimately believe that Thor and Odin, they're separate entities. There was even one person that had commented that she believes that Thunar and Donner and Thor are all different. She actually used Woden, Wotan, and Odin, saying that they're all different. And then I saw a comment, because I can still see our Heathen Rescrap. I saw a comment by her where she even stated that she didn't believe that the Thunar she worshipped is the same as somebody that was in another state, which is an interesting perspective and would have been nice to actually hear, as opposed to the hardline implication that the conversation actually had. So when it comes to polytheism and what I had dubbed literalism, we don't know what the gods are. We can talk about it forever, which is great, and we should talk about things forever and discuss them. And even scientific theory, the reason it's called theory, even though it has been proven multiple times, is it is subject to change. And that's the mentality we should have. Whether it's something religious or political, whatever, it doesn't matter. Everything should be subject to better facts, to better ideas. I know this is hard because I'm human, and even when I discuss things with people and they have the opposite opinion of me, that anger starts to boil up, and you want to lash out, you want to tell them they're wrong and they're just idiots. But you got to step back and think, okay, how did they come to this conclusion? And hopefully they help you get there too. Because we have no idea if Thor and Thunar are the same. Archaeologically, it looks like it, but we don't know. Maybe that gal is right about Thunar being different in the state she lives as opposed to the state I live. Maybe my Thor is different than her Thunar. I don't know. Or maybe Thor, Thunar, Perun, and Indra are the same entity. Or maybe they're just mental constructs. Maybe they're just ways of defining part of the human psyche, and that's it. Maybe that's the only spot they exist at. We don't know. And it's okay to say you don't know, right? And then that brings me to a better way to discuss things. So something I've noticed in a lot of modern television. So I'm gonna use TV as the example here. A lot of modern television solves problems with force rather than diplomacy. Rather than trying to discuss things, trying to see the other person's side, they want to kick in doors, kill the bad guy, get that Schadenfreude comeuppance, right? Like, I absolutely love this show, but Supernatural is probably one of the best examples of this. They have kind of a shoot first, ask questions later, more like stab first, ask questions later. Carry on my wayward son. A kind of attitude. They hunt these things that in their natural state need certain things to survive, which is very unfortunate that they have to survive off of people. But can they help their nature? That's not a question that really comes up in the show. It's not that far as I've seen. I think they're on like 12 or 13 seasons now, so I'm a little behind. I think I'm on 9. And then a better example of how to solve problems, and this is something that my wife recently returned me onto, as I watched it as a kid and then fell out, I guess you could say fandom, because I saw it as too shiny, too clean, too plastic, everything's just runs too smoothly. And then in my mid-30s now, mid-30s, I now have a different perspective of this show. Star Trek. No, I haven't watched the original series, and I have not watched any of the new ones. I haven't watched Discovery or Enterprise. I'm more familiar with Next Gen, Voyager, and Deep Space Nine. But something I've noticed is that this is one of the only shows that will take the time to figure out what the other side needs prior to shooting at them with their space lasers. Obviously, the shooting at them with the space lasers happens, but it's not their go-to. And I think that's something we need to see in more shows. not just space lasers. I would also like to see space bows. I think the momentum would actually work better, but that's a soapbox for another day. Just think about it. It goes forward. Like if you have a firearm, it's going to pull you back because there's nothing pushing you down. There's no gravity in space. Bows in space just makes more sense. Yeah, why not look at the other side? Why not have a supernatural-esque show that, rather than immediately being like, well, time to stab this thing, figuring out why it feeds that way, why it needs that. There'd actually be, I mean, from a pagan perspective, there would be a really cool way to show how modern society would affect spirits of old, right? I mean, that would freaking enthrall me. I would watch the crap out of that show. I know a lot of hardcore fans of Star Trek aren't too big on the Voyager series. I like it. I enjoy when they take a series, if you can't tell by my rhetoric. I enjoy when they take a series and throw it in a new thing. So like they're lost in a way on the other side of space and they're completely distant from the Federation and they gotta like figure it out, right? New spin on an old concept, which I dig. So one of the things that they have to deal with later on, and I'm pretty sure they were just trying to replace a boring character, they end up introducing a Borg, right? Which was like this huge enemy for Star Trek. If you're not familiar, they're like cyborg people that turn other people into cyborg people and become like a collective brain thing going on.
We are the Borg. Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Your culture will adapt to service us. Resistance is futile.
Then they introduced queens later that are just like torsos. It's actually pretty metal.
I am the beginning, the end, the one who is many.
Even if they just have a bunch of plastic junk on them, spray painted black. They have this one, 7 of 9. And I believe she's going to be in the new Picard series. So she is massively against the Federation, its ways, doesn't understand it because she's from this hard collective mentality of murder the things, move on, expand the Borg. That's like their whole everything, right? It's the entirety of their race, I guess you could call them. So she has this very interesting story arc where she has to grow as a human being, literally from this.
Don't be alarmed. You're in sickbay. You're going to be fine.
What have you done to me? You should have let us die.
I couldn't do that.
This drone cannot survive outside the collective.
Almost automaton robot person, this cyborg person, into a better person.
If it's any consolation, I share your discomfort with social gatherings.
They seem to occur with alarming frequency.
But you see how the mentality of the Federation, and I mean, there's lots of flaws in the shows. You know, it's a episodic thing, and a lot of tropes they fall into. But the fact that they're dealing with things by trying to talk it out, it's more cerebral. They're trying to fix things rather than meet conflict with more conflict. I even watched a video the other day that was pretty disheartening about some police training. And I know as a security guard, I don't deal with the same stuff they deal with. And I'm very big on de-escalation and, you know, meeting conflict with calm and bringing the situation down, because I don't want to arrest people. I don't want to get people arrested. Like, that's not my purpose. My purpose is to deter the conflict and hopefully prevent it from even happening. But that being said, this trainer of law enforcement, I cannot remember his name, probably shouldn't even throw it up on the screen or anything, but he, in his seminars, has said, we meet violence with superior violence. And I'm like, how is that going to solve conflict? Like, what a Punisher, Wyatt Earp, good, the bad, and the ugly mentality. This guy just wants to be a cowboy. That's such a black and white way to see the world. Like, the only way you can see the world that way is if you have that black and white mentality, if you see things as bad and good, as opposed to everyone having varying shades of gray and coming from shitty situations and just trying to find the actual root of the problem. You just want to use superior violence against the symptom, which really isn't something I fully understand. So in summary, don't meet conflict with superior conflict. Don't meet an idea you disagree with an accusatory statement. Maybe I shouldn't have called them literalists. Maybe that was one of the things that put them on the defensive. I just thought I was defining things, but in hindsight, maybe that was my aggression showing up in my words without me even realizing it, because it's something I try not to do very hard. Except for matters of road rage. I yell at everybody. It's bad, but what do you do? We can never truly grow without looking outside of our schema, right? Without looking outside of our constructed mentality. There's a matrix in here, a network of little Neos running around. No, there's a network of ideas and systems and beliefs, and if those systems, ideas, and beliefs aren't penetrable by the ideas and systems and beliefs of somebody else, then that matrix in your mind, that system, that schema, that is going to ultimately deteriorate. We have to be willing to learn and to grow in order to learn and to grow. It's just that simple. Be better tomorrow than you were yesterday. We are the sum of our actions. As per usual, all my links in the description below. Patreon, Subscribestar, Teespring, Redbubble. Using any of those will, of course, help me to put out more content. I would like to do this more. I would like to Nordic philosophize more. I think my channel is becoming more Nordic philosophy than Norse paganism, but maybe they're the same in a way. Stall.